Good afternoon, and welcome to the expansion of consciousness. I'm your host, Jason Metlock, and tonight we have a wonderful guest, Mr. Dean Griffiths. And just for to put this in perspective, expanding your consciousness is just not you expanding spirituality and learning how to use new tricks, but to expand your consciousness truly is to find out everything from within, find out who you are, find out what changes can you make, trying to empower yourself. And that's why we have expanded our format to include coaches, to include business people who use the very same modalities that we talk about on this show to help others expand their consciousness, expand their ability to do things in the workplace, to do things in their life that they normally would not have been able to do. So tonight, Dean Griffiths, an empowerment coach, will be here with us talking about different ways that he works with his clients to upgrade their thinking so that they can achieve success in their professional and everyday life. Dean urges a range of techniques for us to use, such as hypnotherapy, EFT, and the Psych-K to help you change subconscious limited beliefs. His focus is helping clients who are, a bit to their core, helping them understand how to use uh, their natural abilities and their natural attributes to achieve their goals in life. I mean, Dean focuses on relationships, success. He helps people with mindset. But without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and bring on Mr. Dean Griffiths. Hey, Dean, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Jason. Thanks for having me on the show.
Good, good, good. And it seems like every other episode we have a coach on here that is sharing a different aspect of how to use the subconscious mind, how to use different modalities to increase your performance, whether it be in sports, whether it be in business, whether it be to improve your personal life. And I'm excited that you're here today. But I guess what I want to start with is what got you headed in this direction? Give us a little background on some of the things that has helped you become a coach today.
Okay, yeah, no, thank you. So for me, even when I was young, I had a sensitivity. So one of the systems that I use in my coaching is numerology. So
Mm.
if you're not familiar with numerology, it's based very similar to astrology. It's based on your date of birth and your a particular number based on that. So I'm a seven. A seven is normally about wisdom and about knowledge. So I've always had a curious mind. So even when I was younger, I had a sensitivity and I felt things, beings around me. So I was aware of something around me. But as a child growing up, probably similar to you, Jason, is that we're not taught about energy. We're not taught about these kind of things. So we kind of feel stuff, but we don't know what it really is. And there's no one really to speak to about this. So growing up, I had experiences where actually, I played with Ouija boards. I connected with beings of some kind. I remember one night I woke up in the middle of the night and there was a reflection from my window, and on the reflection I saw three figures. But when I looked at the window, there was no one there, and I kept going back between the two. And I was a teenager, maybe like 14, 15 years old at the point, and I realized there's something. Consciously, I couldn't make sense of it. So it's always been there from a very young age. So my journey then went into health and fitness. So I started with the physical body. So I was a personal trainer. I went into sports rehabilitation, and that for me was a great starting point because I think for the mind, for anything that you're doing, your body has to be in that kind of alignment also. Two have to work together. So I found with clients that I had who had kind of quite serious injuries, back injuries, neck, hips, whatever, and I found the physical was working, but only up to a certain point. It was their mind that was actually blocking them from actually getting the best results. And once I started introducing more things around the mind into their kind of program, the easier the results came for them. So for me, I started in the body and then took me into the mind. And then, through the mind, it takes you on this whole spiritual journey. So I've done energy healing, crystal healing. So I've gone through all these different kind of ways of understanding the body, but also understanding the mind. Hence why, as you mentioned in your intro, I use EFT, Psych Psych-K, hypnotherapy, because there's different ways that we can get into the mind. So for me, there's always been a fascination about how people think, how people act, and why they do it. And once you understand the subconscious mind and their stories that they've been on, then the easier it is then to understand why they are the way that they are, why they act the way they are, and why they're kind of probably struggling with a lot of their problems. So that's kind of my journey on how I kind of got from being sensitive, kind of young boy, to someone who actually went, you know what? There's something beautiful about being sensitive. Once we understand what that sensitivity is, it's easy then to work with it and actually get better results with people.
So you and I, or you and my brother from another mother, because we're
Yeah.
speaking the same language. And I love the way that you explain this. And just to cover all those modalities that we use on the top line, people don't realize the goal is to change the subconscious mind, is to reprogram it using a number of techniques to help you in business, to help you earn that extra four, five, $6,000 that you want, to put you in the right frequency of money. And a lot of people don't understand that money, okay, you look at it every day. Oh, it's paper. It's no, money is energy. Money is a frequency. And to hear you speak at that level, which I had no doubt, because I read about you, I did my research. It's just another male on the show talking this language, because I have a lot of ladies on the show that have this same knowledge. I'm excited about that. But Dean, you're an empowerment coach working with clients to upgrade their thinking to achieve success. Let's talk about hypnotherapy. Tell me the ways you use hypnotherapy to achieve this. And we're going to go through each modality, but let's
Yeah,
start
no,
with
sure.
hypnotherapy.
Yeah, so with hypnotherapy, again, I probably don't do deep trance with most clients, because most clients don't do that. That's not why they're coming to me. They're not coming to me for hypnotherapy per se. They're coming to me as for my coaching. So it's one tool I use. So the hypnotherapy is very much about going into. I use two very similar ones. So people, if people are not familiar with hypnotherapy, there's different things that you can work on to do this. But for me, it's not about working on specific things. It's actually going into the mind and seeing what the mind will show us. So the two that I use a lot. One is using like a cinema screen. So in the client's mind, I get them to imagine they're sitting in a cinema in a nice, comfortable chair, and then on the screen. And all of a sudden, we're taken on a journey. And all of a sudden, their mind will bring to the surface memories that they've probably forgotten, even memories that they didn't even think they had anymore. And then the other one I do is actually using like a long corridor, and along the corridor are different rooms, and we will stop at different rooms, and sometimes I will prompt them in each room, and sometimes I just allow them to go into the room and see what happens. And the idea of each time I do it is the mind will bring whatever it wants to surface. As you know, Jason, so much is hidden within our subconscious mind. The subconscious mind remembers everything. But the thing is, consciously, we're not even aware of so much what's going on in our mind, that when we take people through hypnotherapy and we go to the different areas of their mind, it's amazing what comes up. And it's always relevant for whatever they're going through in their life right now. It may not make sense like naturally. So, for example, I had a client who was, we were working on relationships, working on intimacy. And she got this memory of going back as a child, and a toy. It was a certain toy and everything. And it reminded her about a brother that her mother actually lost earlier in life.
Mhm.
And for her, in the whole time that we've been working together, she thought it was linked back to her relationship with her father. But actually, she found her relationship with men was nothing to do with her father. It was actually to do with a brother that she never had. So she felt like that she lost that connection with men, not from her father, but actually from a brother that she never actually even got to meet. Now, what was interesting with this, I don't think this would have come up in any other way apart from hypnotherapy, because to get into that depth of the subconscious mind, that's for me is where hypnotherapy is so powerful.
Mm. And I like to piggyback when you talk about the corridor and you talk about getting them to look at a cinema screen. One of the biggest things in hypnotherapy is visualization.
Yeah,
And the key in the way into the quantum realm is to be able to visualize and to be able to use the right side of the brain. The right side of the brain is the direct passage into Christ consciousness, into the quantum field. And the quantum field is where the angels are, and the quantum field is where all the information is that we're able to download. And I'm a certified hypnotherapist practitioner and a quantum healing hypnosis practitioner, and I learned that from Dolores Cannon. And I know you know who Dolores is, but
Yes.
one of the keys that we try to do um, is to get you to visualize so that we can get you relaxed, so that we can move you into the trance state. And the more you can visualize, the more that you let yourself go, the more we're able to get you relaxed and move you into the trance state so that we can access the quantum field. Now, that's hypnotherapy. But when we're using quantum healing hypnosis, that's not only are you in theta brainwave state, but we move you even further down from theta into the somnambulistic state. In that state, you're almost asleep, and the only thing that keeps the client awake is my voice. And you mentioned past lives, Dean. And I smiled when you said that because once we are in the somnambulistic state, we're able to access the higher self, the subconscious mind, whatever you want to call it, and we can get the answers, or we can bridge the healing that needs to happen. So when you said that, that just bursted inside of me. Hypnosis is a very powerful tool, and I can see that you're using it, because when you're in those states of mind, the suggestions that we give those clients is very powerful, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, th- first of all, the most important thing, regardless of what work you're doing, hypnotherapy, coaching, whatever it is about holding the space for that client to go
Yes.
into where they need to go to, right? So it's easy, people say, I can train to be a hypnotherapist. I've had clients come to me and say who I've worked with for years. They go, I think I want to be a coach. I go, no, you want to help people. There's a very big difference between using a lot of these modalities. Hence why over the years I've met a lot of people who are very qualified, but they're not good at what they do because they're trying to use the tool. I think we're taught in a certain way. I don't know about you, Jason, but I was taught all these different modalities in a certain way. But then I had to find my way of using it that worked with my clients. So with a lot of these modalities, I find they're very, very good when used in the right way. It's about holding that space for the client. It's not about me doing anything. It's about me holding that space so that client can go through the experience. I can guide them, but the more I can give them the freedom of their mind to go and explore, the better the results are. I don't know if you find the same thing.
And you learn these modalities first off for yourself, and then you want to share. Some people do learn these just to be in business, and that's not why I learned all of mine. uh, I learned mine to really, really unlock some things within me. And I started to say, hey, this stuff works. And then I wanted to share it. I didn't have any aspirations for business. I want to share it and show people how to do it. And that's where coaching comes in. I'm a former football coach, so I'm working with kids all my life. So I'm used to working with people, showing them how. And I think that's what you're alluding to. But EFT, let's talk about EFT and how you use that, in your coaching, and what the benefits are for your clients.
So EFT is probably one of the most powerful techniques. Psych-K, which we'll talk about next, for me
Yeah.
is my number one
Yes.
technique. But EFT is probably the easiest one that you can do anywhere. So one of the main points I use, especially for people on the go, is a karate chop point. So just tapping on the karate chop point and you just speaking to yourself in your head can be enough to calm down any anxiety, any nervousness, any kind of depression that you're feeling. Like, if you're out and about during the daytime, you start feeling uncomfortable, just tapping on this point and just talking to yourself in a positive way is enough to shift your mindset. So for me, and it's interesting, so I learned EFT probably 12 years ago. But the original, if people are familiar with the original kind of version of it, you had to go through all the different points and the different fingers and everything. And for me, it was just like too much. There was too much going on. But over the years, I kind of watched different people use EFT, and I found actually let's simplify it. So I used the main points on the head and on the face, the collarbone, underneath the armpit, and then I go to the chopping point here. And for me, once I started kind of simplifying technique, the easier it became. So as you were saying, actually, I use these techniques myself first of all. So I download a lot of the scripts that actually I use in my EFT, they come down through, so that they're actually like a download for me. So one that I use a lot of my clients is trust in the flow of life. And I've got clients who have transformed their life just by using this. So for 21 days, they have to follow the script like
Hmm.
s- like once a day, every single day for 21 days, and it's amazing the results that they get. So for me, EFT is like an add-on that I put onto all my clients' programs to kind of almost like intensify everything else that we're doing. But it almost keeps them kind of in a. For me, for most clients, it's a technique that they can use. That's probably the easiest out of all things. So journaling, meditation, which are great techniques. But EFT is one that most clients can do because a lot of people struggle with meditation. A lot of people don't always want to sit down and journal, but EFT is something that they can do whenever they want to. So it's got for me, I've actually found it like an easier tool to use. So for me, EFT using for myself, but also for my clients, is probably one of the best tools that you can use on the go and during the daytime.
And I know we're using the acronym. Can we tell the audience what EFT stands for?
Yeah, so emotional freedom technique
Yes.
it actually originates from thought-field therapy, which is the original version of it. But EFT is a kind of I think it was 1996, 1994 that it was kind of first created, somewhere around there. So
Yeah.
yeah, emotional freedom technique. So it's about shifting the emotions in your mind that you're holding on to, shifting your emotional state from where you are into something better.
Yeah. And I've had a few people that have been on the show and they have talked about EFT and how you can remove anxiety just like that.
Yeah,
How you can remove things that are dragging your day down just like that. And
yeah,
it's a powerful tool a lot of coaches are using. And I think that these modalities are absolutely wonderful if used right. But let's go to Psych-K and the relation to helping you change your subconscious mind and the way that it's used in coaching and also the benefits.
yeah. I mean, Psych-K. If you're familiar with the work of Bruce Lipton,
Yeah,
then
Dr.
you
Bruce
know,
Lipton.
yeah,
Everybody knows Bruce.
exactly. And I interviewed him years ago, and I remember asking him, about Psych-K, and he wouldn't say that he used it all the time, but he kind of. But I knew from reading some of his work that he did. But then in a recent interview, he mentioned it again. But now he was talking about it in a lot broader sense in terms that he used it mainly for himself. But in
Mm,
terms, and actually, he was telling a story about before he wrote his first book, he actually used Psych to help him actually like release his first book. So for me, Psych-K has always been the most powerful technique because it's the one technique out of all of them that goes into the parts of the subconscious mind that even hypnotherapy doesn't do. So for me, it's a way of.
wow.
So the difference between hypnotherapy and Psych-K is Psych-K is looking at the positive and the negative statement. So we all in as you know, duality is an important part of the mind. The mind needs both to contrast itself. So when we check beliefs, we're looking at a positive and a negative. So a simple example is I love myself, I hate myself. So it's amazing actually how many people I work with when we test it, most people actually hate themselves rather than love themselves. So when we rebalance that, then now your mind only believes that you actually love yourself rather than hate yourself. And sometimes you'll have people who actually will believe both the positive and negative. So it can kind of create a disharmony in the brain. So I tested this years ago. I had a client who actually trained in Psych-K, and she was a doctor on Harley Street in London, and she wanted me to work with some of her clients. So I said to her, let's go back and check all the beliefs that you did in your training, and we went back through all of them, and she was fine. Everything had changed. Because a lot of people say, when we're making changes in the subconscious mind, is it actually changing like for good, or is it just like a shift in a short term? Every single time it works. Every single time it goes deep down, it changes things at a deeper level. And especially with this, we're also getting rid of a lot of the conscious thought as well. We're going back and asking your higher self what beliefs are actually blocking you. So in Psych-K, there are 12 standard statements that we use, positive and negative. So 24 in total, 12 collections of statements. And we use those as a kind of like a basis for everything else. And then we can then work on more conscious kind of statements that people are kind of thinking about. I am in a, I am in healthy relationships. I'm in unhealthy relationships. That's a simple one. But then we can go deep on that and look at it and ask your soul, Well, what other beliefs below that are actually blocking you from actually believing that you're in healthy relationships? So for me, Psych-K is one of those ones that overrides. I think, like I said, it's my number one that I use with myself, but also with my clients, because for me, it goes so much deeper than hypnotherapy. And again, not that these other modalities are bad, but just for me personally and from my own experience, it's the one that I will always use first.
So, what's the premise of Psych-K? Good statements, bad statements? Are we looking at something that we're trying to figure out what the subconscious mind will accept and won't accept?
Yeah, so it's seeing, it's a subconscious mind focus on the positive or the negative or both. So often you find people who've done a lot of personal development work, they will often test positive for both. So it means that they've done work on their subconscious mind. But what they've done is that they've got an old program running and they've put a new program in. But
Yes,
the problem is the old program's still running. So what happens is they kind of they get conflict. They go, look, I'm doing all this work, but nothing's really changing. I'm kind of making a few steps forward, and then all of a sudden my life goes back to where it is. I said, yeah, because you've got two beliefs now conflicting with each other. Yes, I love myself. Yes, I hate myself. So you make certain strides, but then all of a sudden, I hate myself jumps in at a certain experience, and then you come back to where you were. So Psych-K is about looking at both sides of the belief and seeing which one you believe, and then obviously then changing it into the positive one, so that the negative one doesn't then influence you.
good stuff. So I know that in your coaching career, you've had to deal with relationships undoubtedly. How do you approach relationships using some of your techniques? What are some of the things that you can share with the audience on the way you deal with relationship coaching?
So relationships, and this is the same for everything in life, which is why I don't specialize in one area, is everything comes back to your relationship with yourself.
Mm,
So with anything that we're working on in any kind of relationship, whether it's an intimate relationship or family relationship, we look at yourself first. So the most important principle I teach every client is take ownership of everything in your life. Don't blame yourself for everything in your life, but take ownership of it. Because as the saying goes, when you're pointing a finger at someone else, you've got three more pointing their finger back at you.
absolutely.
So everything comes back to you, right? So for me, in terms of relationships, is why did I create this issue in my relationships? Why do I keep attracting certain types of people in my relationships? What is it about me that's looking for that or not looking for that? Maybe it's something that I need to learn, I need to let go of within myself. So in most cases in relationship, once you understand why you've attracted a particular partner, then you understand why there are problems in the relationship. So on top of using like the modalities I mentioned, I also use other things like tarot card. We use different ways to get into your mind to understand where your mind may be not seeing what it needs to. So for example, in tarot, there is from a shamanic perspective, something called a three-card story where we write a story based on three cards and we create a story that out of nothing. So three cards will just give you three images. If you're familiar with the tarot, three cards will give you a different image, and you create a beginning, a middle, and end to the story. And then when we go back and read the story over, we understand what the subconscious mind is trying to tell you. So again, it's another way, especially for relationships. I always find it actually very helpful for relationships to understand what you need to understand about a particular situation in your life. So, I had a client years ago who was always in relationships with physical or emotional abuse. And for her, she didn't understand why do I keep attracting these kind of men? I said, well, there's only one constant, which is in all your relationships. I said, what is it? She goes, well, they're this, they're this. I said, no, it's you. Now
Yes.
she found it hard, right? Because she's like, "So you're saying it's my fault? I did." And I said, "No." I said, "I want you to take ownership. You're attracting these people for a reason
Yes.
because there's a part of you that you're missing, that you're looking for, that they're reminding you that if you don't accept it, you're going to keep meeting these kind of people in your life." And she got offended by it and she left. And then about 2 weeks later, she came back to me. She goes, "You know what? You're right. I need to realize that I'm attracting these people for a reason. And once I can change that, and she did, and then she met her husband, she had two children, everything went beautifully. So with relationships, it always comes back to I'm not worried about what's happening in relationship. I want to understand why you created that particular situation or even attract that particular partner into your life so that you understand the relationship with yourself first.
Wow. You know, Dean, I have an old saying, successful people, they do well, make great money, and they're very organized. Successful people. But the ultra successful people have a coach, but they'll never tell anybody. So when you're dealing with someone who wants to, um, just coming to you because they want some level of success, what do you say to them? How do you get them going?
Again, so this is where the numerology can be very helpful. I don't know how familiar you are with numerology, Jason.
I'm not
Uh,
familiar, and as you're teaching me, teach the audience.
okay, yeah, no, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So what we do is we take your date of birth and we break it down into single digits. So I'll take my date of birth, 17th of August. So
Okay.
1-7 is 8, right?
Right.
And then August is 8 also.
Yes.
And I'm born in 1971. So 1 plus 9 plus 7 plus 8 is 18.
Okay. So 8,
1
8,
plus
18.
Yeah, so I've got 8, 8, but 1 and 8 is 9. So I've got
Okay.
8, 8, 9, right?
Okay.
Now, if I add all three up, 8, 8, 9, I've got 25.
Okay.
25, 2 plus 5 is 7.
Right.
Okay, so my life path number is a life path 7. So each number has a vibration and has certain qualities. So like as I mentioned before, 7 is all about knowledge, wisdom. It's all about the higher mind. So 2023, where we're in right now, we're in a 7 year. So this year is about bringing things to the service to the higher mind. A lot more awareness will come this year around things that have been happening in the past. So a lot of things that have been happening in the world over the last couple of years could be quite confusing. This year, a lot of it will come to the surface because we'll understand it better. So the 7, so I don't know, maybe you can work out your number quickly, Jason, what your life path number is.
I'm ready.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's do me for an example. Okay. Ask me the question and I'll give it to you.
Yeah, so your date of birth is?
01-24-71.
Okay, so it's 1, 6, and 9. 16. So you're 7 like me. You're
Right.
16, 7. Yeah.
I told
So
you my brother from another mother.
yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. So here's other traits, and let me know whether these resonate with you. Sevens are normally introverts. They need a lot of time on their own.
Okay.
So they need to make sure, especially in relationship, very important for. So a 7 never needs to go and find a relationships. Relationships always find themselves for 7. 7 is they're here for their purpose way more than their relationships. So for them in relationships, going back to what we were saying before about relationship, with a 7, I always say to a 7, make sure that you find someone who will not block you from actually focusing on your purpose. Because the reason why you're here as a 7 is you're here to bring lifetimes of wisdom and knowledge into this lifetime for people to learn for this kind of era that we're in right now. Remember, we're moving from the age of Pisces of 2,000 years into the age of Aquarius. So there's a big shift happening right now. So that 7 is about bringing that knowledge and wisdom from past decades into the now that we need for this new transition. So for you, that's very much where you are. And looking at your work, you're very much doing the work that you're here to do. Would you actually say that?
It's accurate. I mean, it is pinpoint accurate what you just said.
So for you, it's realizing, so with each person, it's remembering. So, let's look at a 6 before. So 6 before 7. So 6 is all about family. 6 is all about nurturing. Think of the number 6. It's about that cradle. If you look at that 6 at the bottom, it's the cradling, right?
Yes. Yes.
So 6 is people who are 6. They're normally they're business mind, very business minded, very strong business minded people. I've had clients over the years who are 6. They're always going to be very successful in business. They're normally going to be owners of companies or working high up. They're not normally going to be people, or shouldn't be people, who are working down at a lower level. And then you've got 8 on the other side of it. So 8 is a number of karma. It's the infinity sign, right?
Right.
So 8 is also all about money. So when you go back to like Chinese philosophy, 8 is a popular number for them because it's all about wealth. So money is either good or bad for number 8. So one of my clients who's an 8, he's a lawyer. He very good with money, and now I teach him how to use his energy to create even more money. So over the last 2 years, we'll find out probably in the next couple of weeks, but hopefully we will have tripled his income
Oh
in
wow.
2 years. So with an
I
8, you
love
can
it.
do that. So again, once you understand your vibration and your attributes, and then you know how to apply it into your day-to-day life, whether it's your relationships, your career, or even your health. then it makes it a lot easier then to get the results that you're looking for.
Absolutely wonderful. And another part of this whole thing is a person's mindset. And as you can see, let me just hide this. We both are a coach, and I'm specifically on mindset performance, but it all connects to everything you're saying. So mindset performance, or changing a person's mindset, first get clear on what they want and what psyche do they possess. I mean, secondly, creating a plan to reprogram and to change habits in micro pieces, but to try to change your habits. And then lastly, helping them understand the repeatable process. And that's just short. I'm just giving you the short version of mindset.
Yeah.
But when you think about mindset training, it's the same thing as, well, it's not the same thing as success, but they have elements of the success and elements of relationship training. But mindset training, how do you approach that, changing the way a person thinks so they can perform better?
This this is why I worked with the body first of all, because if you go to the gym and you only do one workout a week, you're not going to get much good results.
Yes.
But if you do 2 to 3, so it's repetition. Everything is about repetition, and this is why a lot of people also fail, because they're not willing to put the work in for long enough to get the results that they want.
Keep
So when I
saying it,
say
Dean. Say it louder, Dean.
repetition, it's sometimes it sounds so simple, right? But
Hmm.
the reality is if you keep putting the repetition, it's not about trying to maintain. What's that famous quote by Michael Jordan? It's not that I practice technique 1,000. No, maybe it's actually Bruce Lee. Sorry, it's not that you practice 100 techniques once. You practice one technique 100 times. So it's knowing that whatever you're trying to create is that you do it repeatedly over and over again. This is why habits and behaviors are so important. This is why you see people like Robin Sharma, who has a 5 a.m. club. We're talking about setting habits on your day-to-day basis that you'll do for the rest of your life. The way that people dress, the way that they kind of go around their day. You've got certain people who will dress like the same uniform almost every single day. Someone who you'll be familiar with if you watch TV is someone like Simon Cowell, who wears the same outfit every single day because he wants to take out something where he doesn't have to make any decisions in his day. He can go to his wardrobe every morning and take out the same outfit. So these people who are successful is that they have habits that make their day easier for them to do. So
That
wherever
is
you make it easier for you, but the other part of that is that they do it with intention, that they make sure that intentionally they're looking after themselves. Remember, for whatever work you're doing, whether it's spiritual, whatever realm you think you're working in, you are the channel for that to happen. So you have to create habits around your health and your fitness because this energy. So take a life path 11, which is one of the power numbers. They are a channel. So think of two numbers, 1 and 1. They're like a channel. So for them, they have to make sure that they keep their mind and body healthy for that information to come through. And same as a 7, me and you as a 7, we're so reliant on the information coming through our mind. We have to keep our body and mind in balance. So I'm very blessed that I actually started with the body because I always look after my body. But then when I started adding the mind in, for me, it was so important to get that balance in. But it was making sure that I put in the routines. So my EFT, for 3 years, I did it every single day. And that's where I got my changes. So everything is about getting into habits and routines that you do without even thinking. Take someone like David Goggins, right? David Goggins, who takes it to another level, where literally he's up at 4 a.m. There is no day off. So you got people who do extremes at that level, and even people like Gary Vaynerchuk. They're so driven that they will never miss a day. The thing is about repetition, getting it enough times over enough period of time to get the result that you want. Like I said, most people won't do it. They will give up, sometimes just short of where they should be. But if you're willing and the reason that you're doing it is big enough, you'll keep doing it until you get the results that you want for.
that is incredible. Now, I want to share with you expert in the coaching field. I want you to give me your opinion on him. Who is that guy right there? take take us through empowerment coaching, upgrading your mind. And this is the website. What can the audience expect when they log on to deangriffiths.com?
Okay, so This is my main website just for my coaching. I just want to say, actually, I've got a book coming out this year. I've got an online course. So this is just for the people who want to work with me directly. So I only work literally with half a dozen people every year,
Okay.
and most of my clients will work with me for many, many years. So I normally don't have many spaces come up. But this year I started opening up for groups because I want to start working with more people in a group setting as well. So when you come to my website, you'll see the for me, something which I think is also important, I put my prices on there so that
Yes.
people know this is how much I charge. I'm not cheap, but I'm very good at what I do. So it's always important if you're ready for change. And one of the things that's always important to remember, a lot of people want to change. Most people are not willing to do the work. This is why I charge a high price because I guarantee results with what I do. Every single one of my clients, I always give a 10x return on their investment. So for me, it's about coming in and going, whatever you're going to do, I want you to commit for at least 1 year to get the results you want. Like going back to what we are saying with repetition, this is not about doing something for 1 month or even 3 months. This is about doing for not just 1 year, but for years afterwards as well. So everything I teach is not short term. Everything I'm trying to teach is about the long term. This is about, life isn't a short game. It's a long game. So what I've learned and what I do for myself is about teaching a long game, and you have to be committed to it.
Here's the thing. Um, Coaching is a luxury.
Yeah,
You can go through your daily life and try to figure it out and try to struggle and work on trying to lose weight and it's nothing is working. And then you decide I'm gonna hire a personal trainer. Of course. And he's not gonna be cheap because we find it hard to stay motivated for periods of time, for long periods of time. And that's why people hire coaches and then you have to pay them. But what we know is that a lot of people out there will just sort of phase out. And if they're not invested financially in the program or in that coach, you will not keep them motivated. So I do understand I'm not cheap either. And you have to charge people so that they know the importance or the seriousness, because what do we want from them, Dean? We want them to set their intentions
yeah,
and be serious about it, because we can invoke the change and we can help you. We can help you invoke the change. We can't do it for you. Just like a basketball coach or football coach, you may have the talent. I'm going to show you how to use your talent to get to your goal. And I love it. I love it, Dean. Yeah. I mean, thank you for being where you are with your pricing, because spirituality can sort of blind us or blind the clients who come to us, and they think it's we're supposed to always give, and that's true. Knowledge is free, but it's your profession and it's what you do every day, and this is how you make your living. So I applaud you on that one.
no, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I give out a lot of free information on my social media as well, so I share
Yeah.
information also for free. But yeah, if when it comes down to doing the work, remember, and as you as a coach, you know this. I'm Yes, we're trying to guide you, but for me, I'm holding that energy for that client as well to go through that. So for me,
Yes.
it's, this is not just about my time. This is about my energy. This is about my years of experience that I'm bringing to the table. So when a client comes to me, my clients are putting their life in my hand. They're saying, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm guiding them to do it. They trust the decisions that I share with them. My clients will come and ask me about things. I have a client ask me, said, look, I'm thinking of getting married on this date. Is it a good day to get married? My clients will come back and look at certain parts of life, and they will check in with me first because they trust whatever I share with them is going to be the truth or what I feel is right for them. They still have to kind of decide what's right for them, but they trust me enough to come back and know that whatever I'm sharing with them is adding value into their life. That's what it all comes down to. Am I adding more value than what they're paying me? For me, I always will over deliver.
I love it. I love it. um Question for you, and we're running out of time, but what's blocking most people from achieving their goals in life?
For me, it comes back to one thing, and then we can use different language. I call it self-worth. You can call it
Yes.
self-love, whatever it is, right?
Yes.
Most people are not worth or don't. at a subconscious level don't believe that they're worthy of it. So something that I check with a lot of people is, we're not taught how to love ourselves. Self-love, we're not taught as children. We're not taught how to have a good relationship with money, how to have a good relationship with even other people. So it's the thing is that we have a lot of lack of self-worth that's blocking us. And it's amazing when people start, in a sense, taking ownership of that self-worth, they start believing it. Wow, I've seen people transform their life, like, from people who were struggling, making no money, couldn't find a relationship or even stay in a relationship. After a couple of years of doing self-worth and working on their self-worth and their self-love, everything changes. So it's not, remember, some people are born with a great life. It looks like they have a great life, but really it's only a starting point for every single one of us. I've worked with some very, very famous and successful people, and it doesn't mean that they have more than anyone else. The perception that they look like they have more, but most of them don't. But the ones that make the biggest changes are the ones who've normally been through some of the hardest times, because they realize actually it's worth putting this work in now, because what I've been through, I know what I can achieve. But I now understand that my self-worth, my self-love is the very thing that's blocking me. So that's what I've got to change if I really want to get to that level that I know that I'm worthy of.
Dean, my brother, Dean Griffiths, ladies and gentlemen, I love you, brother. And that's from another man who has learned to accept his emotions. And that's how we're able to tap in to our psychic abilities and not be so rigid. And it blocks us from accessing the wonderful gifts that we have from within. It's okay to tell people that you love them, because love is the key. Love is the frequency of the angels. Love is the frequency of the quantum level. And it's an unbelievable energy. Dean, is there anything you want to leave the audience with before we get out of here?
One of my favorite quotes is, and this is so important if you remember this: what someone else thinks about you is none of your business. What's blocking so many people is what other people think about them, or what they think other people think about them. Let go of what you think other people are thinking about. Most people are stuck in their own minds. They're not even aware of you half the time. So for me, that's one of the main things I teach most people is, whatever someone thinking about you, don't worry about it. Whatever they say about you, don't worry about it. It's what you believe about yourself.
I love it. Okay, I'm going to put you in the back office because I want to talk to you after this. I'm going to close the show out. I'll be right back. What people think about you is none of your business. That's a powerful statement. And the for those of you out there who are looking for high level coaching, check out Dean. Check out Dean's website, www.deangriffiths.com, www.deangriffiths.com. But thank you for watching Expansion of Consciousness once again, to pick up information, to understand how expanding your consciousness can really help improve your life. And you may say, well, Jason, it says that Jason is a mindset performance coach and he's pumping someone else. Absolutely. There's not one person that has any sort of license on doing this type of work. This type of work is available in abundance. There are a number of coaches out there, and I seek them out. I want to understand how they use consciousness, the tools of consciousness, to improve people's everyday life. And it is my job to share that knowledge so that you have an opportunity to improve yourself. And it's all about who you resonate with. And I want to thank Dean for coming on and sharing his style, his experiences, his methods. And like he said, we can share all day, and we do share all day online. This show shares, but when you really, really are ready to take the next step and to integrate these fabulous modalities in your life, then a guy like Dean, several other people on the shows, even myself, we're here to help. Thank you for listening to Expansion of Consciousness. You can catch us on YouTube, watch it live at Expansion of Consciousness. We appreciate your help. Good night.